Hey, everybody, this is Will Chow, and welcome to Will's Personal Development Show. Today, I have a awesome guest, and her name is Ginger Flesher Saunier. She went from a math teacher to a full blown entrepreneur, and I am just blown away by all her brands. I found her through her escape rooms, which are kind of like the Disneyland of escape rooms, you could call it. They're just so much more. Uh, Decorated and beautiful experiences just when you enter the waiting room. And now she has a few other brands. She has a uh, brand called Throw Social, as well as a uh, axe throwing brand, which are also experiential entertainment brands. So, Ginger, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
So, I guess the first question I have for you is, could you tell me more about your story, about how you went from a math teacher to what you're doing now?
Sure. I had actually retired from teaching, and my husband, who was a Green Beret, had retired and he was contracting overseas. And we went to Europe for a 3-month stint with his job. And during the weekends, we like to travel around to all the different countries and see things. And I was always looking for cool or unique things to do. So kept finding these escape rooms in every city we were looking: Paris, Prague, London. It was insane. And the descriptions of them really intrigued me as a former math teacher. I thought, wow, this sounds like a lot of fun. Like, I want to check this out. So we actually booked our first one in Prague, and
That's
it
awesome.
was it was a funny story because my husband was having a hard time sleeping the night before. So I gave him an Ambien because we were really close to like one of the biggest nightclubs in Europe. And it was about 4 a.m. I gave him an Ambien and it didn't really kick in for an hour or so. And we had a very early morning appointment. So he barely even remembers doing the escape room and he was in a fog. He even wound up throwing up afterwards. But I was in love. It was so much fun. But it was kind of in a scary location. We had to go through some gates and then down these stairs into a basement, and nothing was really decorated nicely, and everything kind of felt grimy. And I thought, gosh, I could do this so much better. I could make it so much more friendly for groups, as a place to hang out before and after. And every escape room that we went to and did, it was the same story. So I thought I could do this so much better in the US. And I did a little research and I found that there were none in Washington, D.C. And I had noticed that all these things were number one on TripAdvisor were in the city proper. So I knew I had to be in Washington, D.C. So before we even left Europe, I had formed an LLC, created a website, designed my first room, but I didn't even have a location yet. I had to wait until I got back to get a location. But before we left Europe, I had bookings and I had to tell people, whoa, wait, I don't know how people even found the website. I didn't understand SEO or anything like that back then. This is 2014. And so I had to tell people, no, you'll be the first to come when we actually have a location. But um, it was pretty exciting. And I just thought about how I could do it so much better, but also make it open to a wider group of people. That was the thing. I wanted it to appeal to as many people as possible. Because I thought, when I was raising my daughter, I was always looking for things to do with her that were unique or different or where she could use her brain and be active. And this fit that bill. And now that she's an adult, I thought, still, families are looking for that type of thing. And if I can create something that's as appealing to a 5-year-old as it is to a 65-year-old, then it's a win.
That's so awesome on so many levels. And just to emphasize, your escape rooms and I'm assuming all your other brands are really, truly so different from others. That's why I really wanted to reach out to you, just to kind of explain to the listeners. When you step into the waiting room, usually escape rooms are pretty barren, and it's just like a table. Um, Ginger's escape rooms they have fur, they have themes around the like Sherlock Holmes or whatever other theme the escape rooms had. So when I saw that, I knew um, I had to reach out because you were doing something different, and I knew you were going to succeed. So I guess the next question I had for you is like, in terms of like, you know, entrepreneurship or starting things out, was that something that came just naturally to you, and you were a go getter? And I mean, it even seems like you accidentally validated your product with all these people signing up before you were ready to launch.
Yes, it's funny. I didn't know anything about business, but I'm always looking for something to do, always learning, always creating something. I can't be idle. So um, I just, from the get go, am always thinking about how I could improve things. Or, even decorating somebody's house. My family, I decorate all their houses and they love it. And I love it. Um, but I wanted it to be welcoming as soon as people walk through the door. I also needed to differentiate myself. Although we were the first in DC, within a year, we had multiple competitors. So I'm glad that I acted very, very quickly and on instinct. My husband was like, why don't you wait a little bit and see? And I was like, no, I know this is going to kill it because I was looking at Toronto and looking at Europe and seeing the trends there. And they were a couple of years ahead of us. And I knew this was going to be something that was going to take off. Um, so to differentiate ourselves, we went in high end first. And then we added a bar. So if you have a choice to go somewhere to do an escape room, hopefully you're going to pick the best value for the money. And although we may not be the cheapest, we offer a full bar, we have party areas, we have rooms that look gorgeous with soundtracks and good puzzle design. So we just kind of went in hard and fast, and we're going to be the last ones standing is how I see it, because it's very difficult to meet our bar. um, I know that's not possible for a lot of people because they don't have the capital, but how I started was we had about 30 to $80,000 in savings, and I opened my first room and started making so much money on that I just reinvested the cash. So within a couple of years, I was making a few million a year from that small initial investment. Now, mind you, I was stressed to the max, and I took 0 days off in like 5 years. Like even Christmas Day, I was working. So it wasn't easy, and it did take a toll on my health, but it was constantly working and putting back into the business without stopping and taking a breath sometimes, which is COVID has helped me realize that stopping and taking a breath is definitely worth it. Everything that's going on with the financial part of COVID and how a lot of businesses are going under, and we have been hit devastatingly. Um, but we're surviving, and we plan on coming out the other end. But I've learned so much in that. So the positives I've learned are actually outweighing, you know, the the decimation to my bank account. And I think we're just going to be that much better off going forward, even if it's
Yeah, I
just
mean,
insanity.
yeah, and my heart goes out to this industry and to you because I know this is with COVID-19, it's been really tough. Um, but I hope that you'll make it out of this and you'll do well. I think you will because this will come to an end and people will come back in.
Yes.
Um, I got a lot of potential questions I could branch off of that, but I guess what have you learned from COVID? You mentioned you learned a few important things.
Yes. I learned that relationships, not only with my family, but with my team members, is so much more important than anything, because I was so stressed constantly that I could be a bit of a bitch. And because I was working so hard, I expected everybody to be working so hard, and that's a difficult thing to temper. But I've slowed down. I've been able to get more sleep. I take vitamins. I do a little bit of personal time and health check, and I allow other people to do that. So in that regard, we actually have a much more positive work environment with my whole entire team. And that's worth a gajillion dollars right there, honestly. And we're excited about growing and moving forward. We all understand the sacrifices we're making right now, but and we've learned how to work so much more efficiently. That's the crazy thing, because when you're stressed to the max 24/7, 365, you don't have time to slow down and become efficient. It's always like putting out fires. You know what I'm saying? You're
Hmm.
you're
Hmm.
not developing proactive ways to to handle issues and problems and be able to foresee what's coming up. So this is that's the biggest thing that we've done and learned from COVID.
And when you come out of this, are you going to be like, what are your goals? Or is it to, because I already see that you've expanded to Philadelphia, New York, um, Florida. Is your goals to just continue growing, or is there some kind of end goal in mind?
We plan to continue growing, but at a healthy pace. Take a look at Punchbowl Social, for example. They grew so quickly that they couldn't keep up. They couldn't manage it, and they got funding from Cracker Barrel, and then COVID hit, and things were just a mess, and they just filed for bankruptcy. So I want to keep my growth contained so that we can keep control over the brand and what's going on, but also expanding maybe 2 units a year, maybe three, but keeping it so that it's not so much on me, that I have a team around me that can support what I'm doing, which is a lot of the creative work. And right now we have the perfect team for that. So I'm excited about the growth rather than dreading it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I keep thinking back to that quote by Richard Branson on how you have to hire great people and then get out of their way and trust them.
Yes,
Um, I
that's the hardest thing, honestly.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, in terms of like um, just your brands, I mean, it has such a experiential. It probably comes so natural to you, but even even your website and your email signature, it's all so kind of well done, like well designed. It's kind of hard to describe, but I just found it so so refreshing. I think it adds a little extra flair to these areas. Um, do you have any like tips for any listeners on how you can add that to your resume, your room decor, your
Yeah, it's
career?
it's funny. I did all of that myself, all the websites and most of the graphic design. But if you don't have that skill, try and hook up with someone who's talented and creative, because it makes such a difference. People always say, "Oh, that kind of stuff, it doesn't matter, just get it done." And it's in the details, like you just mentioned. You noticed all the little details, and that's what sets us apart. And for me, that's what makes it fun. It's always that design element that I wish I could be doing all the time, instead of all the, the financial, the business decisions, all that kind of stuff, operations. Um, but yeah, fill your weaknesses with people who are talented. And because money is tight right now for everyone, see if maybe people want to intern, or just do it as a contract position or hourly, something like that, where it's not like you're hiring them on salary or for a set number of hours a week, but you're still getting that benefit. Um, I knew nothing about running bars, for example. So one of my first major hires was somebody who had experience in restaurant and bars. And now my top guy is amazing. I mean, he runs all of that for me. I wouldn't know the first thing about running a bar and a restaurant, and he's amazing. So I think right now there's a lot of people out there who are available. If you think about it, incredible talent that's probably available and willing to work with you to help build your brand and then build up their portfolio. So if you could try and take advantage of that, the hard thing is finding them, obviously, but you could post on Craigslist, you could post in different areas and see what you get. But I bet a lot of people would love to attach to something that's new or up and coming and help out in that regard.
Is the current climate with COVID a time where there might be bargains to be struck in terms of investments or
Oh, gosh, yeah.
hire talent that's cheaper than usual? And
Yes.
have you been leveraging that?
Yes. So, with the deals and opportunities we're looking for down here in Florida, although they're not as readily found as up north, because honestly, we've been open since late May down here in some capacity and never shut down again. Um, so businesses have not been as devastated. There's not as many deals down here. Very few have actually gone under. Um, but still, people have cut back on staffing. So there are a lot of talented people, restaurant people, for example, um, and designers out of work right now who would love to assist people in a brand that they believe in and that they think that they can help. And of course, we can pay them whatever we can, but sometimes it's not possible to do too much at the moment, especially with New York, Philly, and DC right now all having no indoor dining. That's a little rough. But it'll come back, hopefully, barring this new strain going crazy. That would suck horribly. um, but yeah, there are definitely deals and bargains to be had out there.
Yeah, and could you tell us about kind of those other brands? You have Throw Social and you have the axe throwing business. How are those doing? Uh,
They are doing okay. Considering the capacity we're allowed to have, they're doing very well. Not very well. We're about 20% of what we do normally. But we still have people coming in, coming through the doors, enjoying us. We're very safe. We have tons of social distancing. So, for example, the kick axe throwing we have in DC, Philly, and Brooklyn. We have only every other range open. Instead of having an axe pro for every range, we have one per three. So they're not in your face the whole entire time. They're just getting you started and then standing back and supervising and answering any questions and giving some advice, which has actually helped so much with labor costs. We never thought we'd go that route, but right now it's forcing us to, and we're finding it to be actually better. People enjoy it. They like being left alone instead of having someone hovering over them constantly. So the axe throwing is doing fine. And the interior of those spaces were so much fun to decorate because they look like a Canadian lodge and have fireplaces, stone walls, the wood cabin walls, the fur rugs, uh, taxidermy everywhere. So it's a ton of fun. You walk in and you get a really cool, cozy vibe, which is what I want. Again, I go back to when my daughter was little. Anywhere we went, I looked for themed dining because it's more fun to go to a place that's themed or has something a little extra, right? Rather than just a restaurant. So I kind of focus on that. So for Throw Social in Washington, D.C., I themed it with a Palm Beach theme. And it's right above the kick axe throwing. And it's a summer atmosphere, whereas kick axe throwing downstairs is like winter. So you hop in the elevator and you come up and it's summer with black and white cabanas and flamingos, greenery, palm trees, and it's a lot of fun. We still have activities. We have football bowling, which is crazy fun and addictive. And we have iceless curling, but we have the cool fruity drinks, neon signs everywhere, great Instagrammable moments, and you can rent the cabanas to be a little VIP if you like, a place to hang out and sit all night with your friends. So that makes it extra cool and extra fun.
yeah, I'd have to check it out. Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
In terms of like fear and doubt, I think a lot of young people I think they have that fear of making that first leap. For
Yeah.
example, when you first started that, uh, your whole company, you had all these savings, and did any type of fear go through your head on kind of taking a chunk of that and investing it into this business to see if it would work or not?
Yes. Horrible fear. But I really believed in it because my market research was personal. It wasn't like I actually analyzed numbers and demographics. I knew I needed to be in a big city so that you had a lot of um, demographic to pull from. And DC was perfect. That's where we started. You've got tourists, you've got locals. Not only that, but the locals are very transient if you think about it. So many people come into that area and out of that area. There are a million businesses. So about 30 to 35% of our revenue was coming from the team building. That's another area that's hit us hard this year. But yeah, the fear was there, but I felt pretty confident. I'm sure my husband had wrote the money off and was like, "Oh yeah, this is gone," but he had such faith in me. Um, I recommend, if you really believe in it and you have done the research, not necessarily the numbers maybe, but just, are there competitors? Why would you be different? Why would someone come to you over them? And then how do you get ahead of them in social media? So another thing I recommend, you try to be first to market because then you own Google in that area, right?
Hmm.
Um, I've moved into other cities. So Philadelphia um, already had a bunch of axe throwing places. It was the first place we opened where there was tons of competition already. And it took a while to take off. And it takes triple the advertising money to get a person through the door because we aren't even on page one on Google for axe throwing in Philadelphia. So you have to really take that into consideration. How are you going to get people in the door? If it's going to cost you a ton of money just to get the person in the door, you can't count on Instagram and Facebook because they don't deliver organically. They make you pay to deliver. And you just have to think of other ways to get your brand out there. But yeah, it's do a lot of research. Like, why would someone come to you over another person? That's what you have to think. Like, you can't just say, "Oh, I have a new idea for a pizza concept," and jump out there and think that people are just going to automatically find you, right?
Hmm.
So it's a tough thing. Now, you know a lot about SEO, right?
Yes, I do. I rank for a lot of terms. If you search "I'm rich but not happy," I think I rank number one right now for that.
Oh, good. So
So
we should have you do our Philly location and see how we can jump ahead of the competition there. that's a that's our toughest venue right now. Not that it's unsuccessful, but Brooklyn kills it because anytime you type in Axering Brooklyn, unless someone's paying to be ahead of us, we're right there. Our address shows up on a map right on the side. So Google is a huge thing that people have to consider when starting a business.
yeah, I'd be happy to help. I think the just a free tip right now. Um, I think SEO boils down to the right content, the
Hmm.
right links, and um, for local locations, reviews. So getting enough Google reviews with a high average rating. So I think that those are like the core things. If you ask people after every experience to leave a review, like those do add up and they do have an effect.
Yeah, we do that. Um, but still, again, there's just so much competition there. It's crazy. They were the first to open in the U.S., Philadelphia, urban access. So it's really, really hard to get ahead of that.
Yeah,
Um,
I can imagine.
yeah, but yeah, that's my advice. You have to consider all things, not just whether you think it's a good idea, well, other people think it's a good idea, how many other people have the same idea, and how hard it will be to pay, how much you're going to have to pay to get people to see you over them, even if you're better. So that's that's something you have to consider.
And another thing I think would be very interesting to discuss is I think there's a lot of young people. I mean, I'm picturing like a 24-year-old uh, lady who's listening to this right now, thinking that it's too late. She's already getting old. But you were a math teacher before this,
Yeah.
so what do you have to say about, like, if people think they're having trouble finding their passion, or they'll never find it, or
Oh my gosh,
it's
that's
too late?
absolutely crazy. That's insane. That's insane. Um, yeah, I was probably, gosh, I don't know, 44 before I even started this. 45. Yeah, and had a whole other career before me. So no, don't. Yeah, I laugh when my daughter says, "Oh, I'm getting so old. It's too late for me. This, that," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" No, absolutely, absolutely not. Yeah, don't even stop thinking about age. You think about that when you're younger, but honestly, once you get older, it's not even an issue. You're People are people. Like, nobody's judging you because you're too old. If anything, they might judge you because you're too young. I do remember thinking when I was younger, um, because when I was under 30, I looked very young still, and a lot of people didn't take me seriously, and that was frustrating to me. So I used to think, I can't wait until I look older. I take that back now, by the way.
Yeah, I get the same thing because I have these Asian genes. So I look about 10, 15 years younger than I actually am.
Yeah, that's tough.
But I relish it now. I know
Yeah,
I'll regret it if I wait until I'm older. Um,
yeah,
so I guess my next question would be: do you have any kind of tips for young people who are entering college or exiting college and just trying to find their way in the world and find that channel of income?
yes, I do actually. Um, I find many colleges don't offer majors and concentrations that are relevant to absolutely anything that's going on in the world right now or jobs that are out there. So I do highly recommend, picking a field where you can have marketable skills, honestly, and also do internships out the wazoo while you're in college. That's how you make connections, get experience, right? A lot of people say, nobody will hire me because I have no experience right out of college. Get it while you're in college. Do it in a field that interests you, where there are actual jobs, because the world is changing and you need to change with it. Was that a Ferris Bueller saying? I don't know. Um, yeah, marketing majors, business majors, um, but don't just get into one niche. Like, don't do graphic design. Do graphic design and marketing, for example, or do market analysis. Um, Interestingly, my daughter has a degree from Brown University in anthropology, right? And she had a hard time finding her path, her niche, and now she found it, and it's in market research and brand identification. So, I mean, it is utilizing her major, but it took years and years for her to fall into this, and it's perfect for her. Where she works with brand identity, um, does all kinds of analysis for brands, existing major brands, and gives them feedback. But, if she had to do it again, she would have minored in anthropology and majored in maybe statistics or market analysis, something that was readily marketable as soon as she got out. So that's my advice there. I know your parents tell you that, but I think it's pretty important right now.
Awesome. In terms of how do you kind of expand and grow from here? Um, like, what's it like in your current, like, day-to-day routine? Like, you say you work a lot, and is it mostly like identifying new companies to build, or is it a lot of like logistical things, like we gotta find this piece of real estate and
Yeah.
open up another location, or
It's interesting. It's still running the existing locations and giving the guidance as CEO on all of that. Um, Making all the financial decisions. Right now, it's filling out grant and loan applications, um, and it's all from home. I'm rarely up in the venues. So I have a team that's there doing that, but I'm also looking forward and looking for opportunities around where I live. Now, here's the thing: I have all these great ideas for new brands, but for efficiency's sake, I'm at the point where it might be just better to keep growing the Throw Social brand, which people love and people ask for, um, rather than doing a completely new brand, coming up with a whole new identity. Although I have tons of ideas that I want to do, and I play around and build new websites and stuff like that for these brands, but it's just not efficient. And I'm learning to be efficient. So maybe eventually we'll be acquired, we'll sell, and then I can just sit around and create new brands for Disney or something. But right now, I think it's most efficient for me to focus on one
yeah, that's awesome.
and replicating. Yeah.
And when COVID first hit, like how did that feel? Like what happened? Like was this like business threatening, or was this something where we had you'd been
Well,
so successful that we were able to weather the storm?
here's the tough thing: we had just opened that huge DC venue that had Kick Axe on the first floor and Throw Social on the second, 3 weeks before we had to
Oh
shut
no.
down. Yeah. So all of our resources were depleted because we just dumped a few $1 million into that venue, and it was doing fantastic. But um, I honestly believed them in the beginning and thought it was only going to be temporary. I was like, what? 4 weeks? 8 weeks? This is going to kill us. Little did I know it was going to be forever. Um, we got PPP money, but we got it early and spent it on payroll like it was supposed to do. And then all of a sudden they say, oh, nope, you're not opening yet. And we had to furlough everyone. So it's been a very, very stressful year. And we've just had to get extremely creative. And our team has been so great. Even the people that we furloughed and then we had to let some go, you might be better off on looking for another job just because we don't have the work. It's terrible. Like your conscience it's taxed constantly. It's terrible. Um, but we're going to get through it because you know what? That Throw Social concept, even though we've been open at like 25 or 50% capacity, it's done almost $1 million just this year. So
Wow.
I know, and that's with COVID, and that's with being shut down for how many months and only open for 3 weeks before we shut down. So, and as soon as that gets rolling again, that whole venue, the combination there, and Other Half Brewery just went in behind us, which is one of the best breweries in the world. Um, yeah, we're gonna survive. We just have to get through this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, at least I feel I think, you know, at some point we're going to go back to the way the world used to be, at least for the most part. So, I have a lot of faith in you. I think these brands are incredible.
Thank you.
So, yeah, as long as you make it through, which I think you will, I think there's so many
Yeah.
incredible things in your future.
Yeah, if it goes on much longer than 3 months, though, with no indoor dining and stuff like that, it is gonna be hard. Um, that's gonna make it really hard. But hopefully things brighten up. Now, ironically, I live in Florida now, and like I said earlier, not everything is shut down here. People still wear masks. It looks exactly the same when you are up north going out. It's not like you see everybody saying, you need to wear a mask. People are anti-maskers. I've never ever been anywhere where I saw someone without a mask and doing the appropriate thing and not social distancing. But the difference is we can go out and we can dine and indoors and outdoors at almost full capacity as long as you have your table separated and you wear masks when you're supposed to. So we're only going to be opening down in these southern states from now on because we can't handle those restrictions up there. And if anybody wants to look it up, the death rate in Florida is lower than New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. So, that's a testament to saying, maybe you spread out the herd immunity, but it's literally lower than all those states that are completely shut down right now and have been. So, yeah, our expansion plans are south only. So look for us all over Florida.
Yeah, definitely support. Check them out in Florida, and I mean,
Yeah.
I know I have, I express my sympathy because I know it's probably going to be tough, and it is tough. But I wish the best of luck in that regard.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Um, so kind of finishing off here, do you have any kind of parting thoughts? Just picture kind of like a mid-20s or high school, college listener who has a lot of dreams, ambitions, but is very kind of still starting out in their life. Yeah.
Yeah, I say go for it, but realize it's not going to be easy. Some people think, there's that funny quote that says, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. But it should be do what you love and you'll be working constantly. um, so just be prepared. If you're willing to work hard and constantly, work hard and play hard too, relax every now and then. But it's got to be something that you're thinking about 24/7, 365, and just go for it. You have right now, who has anything to lose right now? You know what I'm saying? Like, go for it. Um, and I think you'll be fine, you know? Give it a few years, and then if it's just not working, then get a real job. That's my advice for young people. I wish I had done that.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, yeah, thanks everyone for listening to this podcast. Please leave a review if you enjoyed it, subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one. And thank you again, Ginger, for joining.
Thank you so much, Will.